how significant of a role do you think race is in the venture capital and entrepreneurship industries today? So what has your experience been as a Black VC? Do you think that's noticeably different than, has it noticeably shaped your experience?
I've always struggled to answer this question because I've basically experienced maybe only 1 or 2 times in my life really explicit, like, oh, that was definitely racist. Like only once or twice in my career has it happened. And so the one thing that's been interesting for me is I have, no one person is one thing. I have 2 degrees from Stanford and I'm Black and I'm a man. So I have all of these different dimensions where there are times I'm in rooms, I'm like, oh, I'm in this room because I have the Stanford card. Like I got invited into this room because I went to Stanford and the fact that I'm Black is secondary to that. The other times I'm like, oh, I'm in this room because I'm a man who runs a venture firm and my gender is the thing that's allowing me to be in this space. What I will say is there have been so many times I've showed up for a meeting and the people are looking around and I'm like, no, it's me. Like I'm Charles Edward Hudson III. Like I'm not always the person they're expecting when I come to the meeting or I come in the room. I definitely have had people, I'd say probably the most obvious thing that's happened is whenever I pitch my fund, people just assume it's a diversity fund. First of all, I don't even know what a diversity fund means. So people are like, oh, it's a diversity fund. What does that even mean? I don't know what those words mean. But people assume that's I know what they mean. They're like, oh, you're a Black VC.
Do they assume you're going to be funding Black
They
founders?
assume that that's like what and I'm like, that's not our strategy. We happen to have about a quarter of the founders in our portfolio are Black or Latino or Latina, but it's not an explicit thing, but they jump to that immediately when I meet them because that's the only thing they can assume is my takeaway that like, oh, you are a Black man running a venture fund, so therefore we assume that. And I'm like, no, like our strategy happens to produce a disproportionately large number of Black founders relative to everyone else, but 75% of the founders in our portfolio are not Black or Latino or Latina. And it's all of these assumptions I can see people jumping through.
Do you also face the assumption from Black or Latino or underrepresented founders that you should be nicer to them? And is that also a significant?
If I were to look at the people who are our biggest detractors and who give me the most grief are Black founders, for sure. And I get it; they expect more from us. They expect. It's not even just that they expect a yes. Some of them do, and I'm like, well, I'm sorry, like I'm gonna say yes. But I feel a lot of pressure to give them a good experience, even if we tell them no. Because I know the experiences that they're having at other firms are just not good.